everyone, and welcome back to this channel again. It's your beautiful lady coming again to say hi to you, and this is actually going to be a very short one. It's just an update regarding what is going on in nursing currently now. So it's actually a good news for all international students, and I will just be sharing with you. So by the time you are creating your NNAS application, I mean the very first step you need to take when you are planning to become an RN in Canada is for you to prove your English at NNAS level. But gladly, now this requirement has been waived temporarily. It has been waived at NNAS level. But by the time you move to your regulatory body, they might be asking you for this proof of English again. And this is the time you need to prove to them in basically 3 ways: either by submitting your proof of English to them in form of IELTS or CELBAN, either by telling them that you've been working in Canada as an healthcare assistant or you've studied in Canada. So if any of this applies to you, then you can prove to your regulatory body that you can actually communicate very well in English language. And now the good news is, before, the CELBAN requirement is always listening 10 marks, and other bands, not other bands, for your speaking and for your reading you must have 8 in this band, and for your writing you must have minimum of 7. But the good news now is the listening band has been reduced from 10 to 9. See, this is a good news anyways for us, because if you've ever failed just because of 1 mark, you really know what I'm talking about. So for you to get 10 is sometimes so hard, and now the good news is it has been reduced to 9. Okay, so another quick update is regarding College of Nurses of Ontario, regarding those that can apply for the temporary license. Because like I said in one of my videos, that after you have received your advisory report from NNAS and you are planning to settle down in Ontario, so if you're planning to work in Ontario, you have to register with the College of Nurses of Ontario. And for you to be able to obtain this temporary license, what I mean by this is that if you have met all the requirements, and the only thing left for you now is to pass your NCLEX, you can apply for this temporary license for 2 years. But you must be eligible. What do I mean by this? You must be able to fulfill 4 things. The first thing is you must be able to provide proof of your English to College of Nurses of Ontario. This you can meet it by either writing IELTS or by writing CELBAN. If you're already residing in Canada and you are working as health care assistant for over 2 years, or let me say within 2 years, you can request for a waiver letter from Bureau. You can request for a recommendation letter to waive this English from your employer. Also, another way you can prove this English to them is, if you've already studied in Canada, then you can prove this to them as well. The second requirement is that you must have authorization to work in Canada, meaning that if you are still in your country, outside of Canada I mean, and you fulfilled all these requirements, if you don't have work authorization, then you are not eligible to apply for this temporary license. Another thing you need is your safe practice hours. College of Nurses of Ontario wants all their registered nurses to have nothing less than 3 years of RN practice hours. What I mean by this is that the last time you ever practiced as a nurse must not exceed 3 years. So if this has exceeded 3 years and you're already residing in Canada, that means you have to go back to your country and do some volunteer jobs to meet just about 140 hours. And if you're able to do this, then you are good to go. And the last thing you need to do to meet this requirement is writing of your jurisprudence exam. So this jurisprudence exam is a set of 150 multiple choice questions that you have to complete within 3 hours. So for this jurisprudence, they are just objectives, and they are basic fundamental questions, some laws, some rules, some things you need to know regarding the practice in Ontario. So these are just the basic 4 things that you need to fulfill before you can apply for your temporary license. And like I said, you must be able to write your NCLEX exam and pass within 2 years, because the temporary license will just last you for 2 years. And so these are the good news. Like, nursing is really changing. Things are changing for good for international nurses. So please and please, don't delay things. Start with your NNA's application. Hopefully within 6 months or 1 year, you get your advisory reports. Then you'll be able to move to the next stage, moving to your regulatory body, see their decision. What do they want you to do? Do they want you to do further bridging courses before you can be eligible to write your NCLEX? Do they want you to do OSCE exam? Everybody knows OSCE is just this common OSCE we do in our country, but the danger in this one is you studied outside of Canada and it might be hard for you to know some of their rules, their policies, their procedures, how they do it. And so a lot of times students usually fail this OSCE exam. Sometimes you might be given a decision to challenge the real NCLEX. It all depends on the province you are choosing. So let me just remind you one more time that by the time you are choosing your regulatory body, please always select province like New Brunswick, province like Ontario, province like Nova Scotia when you are selecting your application. And by the time you are filling in, always add both LPN and your RN. Please don't just focus on RN. A lot of time we get somewhat comparable for LPN as an international student, and we just need some extra courses or some extra requirements to meet the RN requirement. So that would just be the end of this video, and let me know in the comment section if you have any question regarding this video, and I promise to get back to you as soon as possible. I wish everybody well, and please remember to stay safe out there. Love you guys.